Hi everyone, welcome back to Chessbox Worldwide, your home of the most electrifying chess battles. Today we are diving into a fascinating clash from Kenya featuring the incredibly talented young FIDE master Simiyu Jadon against the formidable Gerald Kiplagat. Get ready for a strategic showdown filled with bold moves, tactical complexities and a fight to the very end. About FIDE master Simiyu Jadon is a remarkably talented Kenyan chess player who was born in 2012 and has swiftly established himself as a prominent figure in the African chess scene. He earned the FIDE Master title in 2025 when at just 13 years old he clinched the Quad Vidis Chess Championship. This victory was particularly historic as it made him the first junior player in over 4 decades to win an open tournament in Kenya, echoing a success of Richard Prowess in 1979. In this impressive performance, he scored 10.5 points out of 8 rounds and defeating the top South Sudanese players, including Gongthon Gong, Peter Majul, and Pansom Garang from South Sudan. Jadon has also consistently represented Kenya on the international stage, competing in notable events such as the African Youth and Cadets Chess Championship, FIDE World Schools Chess Championship. These achievements highlight his dedication and potential to become one of Africa's leading chess grandmasters in years to come. In the white pieces, Judge Kiplagat opened the game with 1c4, the English opening, and we see f5, the Dutch defense from FM Simiyu. Knight comes c3, and we see knight comes into f6, g3, g6, planned to fianchetto the bishop on g7, bishop g2, a5, d4 should have been considered, but he played e3, trying to plan to put the knight on e2 and also go ahead and push the d4 later. Bishop comes into g7, knight comes into e2, c6, plan to go ahead and play d5, short castling, then we see short castling, then now finally we see d4, and now we see e4 taking more space, b4 trying to expand on the queen side. Now we see d5, and after c5 declining the pawn exchange, we see bishop comes into e6, f4, g5 trying to open up a loft for the queen to come in attack, and in this position rook b1 should be considered in order to support the pawn b5 push. Gerald played f5, FM played queen e8, and after f3 challenging the center, pawn takes f3 should have been considered, but he played s6 stopping b5 ideas. f4 should have been considered, but we see f takes e5, f takes e4, king h1, a prophylactic move, knight comes into d7, rook coming into a2 should have been considered in the future to go ahead and put all the 2 rooks on the same column, but now he played bishop d2, and now we see queen goes into h5. Now it's going to be supported by the bishop sitting on h3. Knight is going to be coming into g4, creating a very dangerous attack. Knight comes into g1, requesting for a queen exchange, of which FM declines immediately. He played knight g4, threatening checkmate in 1. You see now the queen supported by the knight. In case of h3, this can be very dangerous for white because rooks can be exchanged, and in this position bishop can't take rook because of the immediate knight coming into f2, checking the king and winning the queen on the spot. That's why queen takes f1 would be anticipated, rook would come into f8, and after queen coming into e2, knight will still come into f2, and after king coming into h2, bishop coming into g4, hitting on the queen at the same time putting all the 3 pieces on the king side, and the queen has no way of defending. I can tell you black will be winning this one. But however, after knight g4, Kiplagat played the best move in the position. He played knight h3, and now rook takes f1 check, and after queen takes f1 we see rook coming into f8, queen coming into e2 should have been considered, still maintaining pin, but however he played queen g1 so as to bring in the rook on f1. FM played knight g5, now giving up the knight. At the same time also we saw the queen and the bishop are putting an eye on the knight, which is on h3. Pawn takes knight should have been considered, but he played knight takes g5. In case queen taking the knight, then he can go on and also win back the knight. Queen takes g5 should have been considered, but however FM played knight d3, knight coming into f2, checking the king, and white has no other option other than sacrificing the queen for the knight. h4, putting a square for the king and also defending the knight, which is on g5, knight f2 check. And after king comes into h2, knight f6, threatening to go ahead and play knight coming into g4 check, checking the king. And this can be almost checkmate in a few. So that's why he played queen e1, creating a square for the king. Now we see bishop coming into c8, trying to save the bishop because now the knight was looking at the bishop, which was on e6. King goes to g1, and after knight comes back to d3, hitting back on the queen and also planning to bring either piece or the bishop or knight to sit depending on the situation. So we see queen going to b1, bishop h6, knight takes e4, sacrificing the knight in anticipation of, in case of pawn takes, then queen b3 check, and it can be very interesting. So after pawn takes, knight on e4, in this position he went on and played bishop takes e4, but however queen b3 should have been considered. Bishop takes e4, and now FM played knight takes e4, knight takes e4, putting an eye on knight which on d3, queen f3, threatening the immediate bishop h3 and threatening checkmate in 1. So that's why in this position we see queen a2 check, and after king goes to h8, bishop c3, threatening pushing the pawn and also opening up a discovered check to the king. Bishop takes e3 check, and after king comes to h2, queen takes e4, d5 check, opening up for the check, and after bishop comes into d4 defending the check, queen g2 is the only move which can try to keep white in the position but lose a lot of material. So that's why after queen d2 he played rook f2 check, and after queen takes, Gerald resigned the game because he had lost out of material and checkmate was just in 8 moves. Thank you so much, and I wish you the best of luck in your games.